Congressman, could you just answer point blank? You say that you were hacked, which is potentially a crime. So why haven't you asked the Capitol Police or any law enforcement to investigate it?
Look, this was a prank that I've now been talking about for a couple of days. I'm not going to allow it to decide what I talk about for the next week or the next 2 weeks. And so I'm not going to be giving anything more about that today. I think I've been pretty responsive to it in the past.
But with respect, you're here, which we appreciate, but you're not answering the questions. Can you just say why you haven't asked law enforcement to investigate what you are alleging is a crime?
You know, Dana, if I was giving a speech to 45,000 people, if someone in the back of the room threw a pie or yelled out an insult, would I spend the next 2 hours responding to that? No. I would get back.
This is not that situation.
I would get back.
This is not that situation.
I would get back. Well, why don't you do it? What, you want to do the briefing? Do you want to do the briefing, sir?
From your Twitter account,
sir,
a lewd photograph was sent to a college student.
Sir.
Answer the question. Was it from you or
sir,
not?
Permit me. Do you guys want me to finish my answer?
Please. Yes, this
okay.
answer. Did you send it or not?
If I were giving a speech to 45,000 people and someone in the back threw a pie or yelled out an insult, I would not spend the next 2 hours of my speech responding to that pie or that insult. I would return to the things that I want to talk about, to the audience that I wanted to talk to.
All you have to do is say no.
And that is what I intend to do this
All you have to do is say no to the question.
Let me try this question. The woman who allegedly got this tweet, or was directed to, a 21-year-old college student in Seattle, she released a statement to the New York Daily News yesterday saying that you follow her on Twitter. Is that true? Did you follow her on Twitter? And if so, how did you find her? What was the reason?
You know, I have, I think, said this a couple of ways, and I'll say it again. I am not going to permit myself to be distracted by this issue any longer.
All you have to do is say no to that question.
You are free. You're very good at.
If you're not following her on Twitter, say no to the question.
Why don't you let me do the answers and you do the questions?
As soon as you answer the question asked you, sir, we will.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
You follow an awful lot of young women on Twitter. Is there a reason that you have so many ladies that you're following?
By the way, in related news, I have in the famous hashtag Scrappy Chasing Crazy, I passed Michelle Bachmann today, the number of Twitter followers. I will give you that additional fact.
Is that a result of this?
Unfortunately, it probably is.
Is it you in the photo, sir?
Congressman, you understand what's going on here, the frustration. We appreciate you coming out and you're talking to us. You're smiling, you're cooperating, and that gives good optics. But you're not answering the question. So can you answer
this
basic question?
This is now day 3. You have statements that my office has put out.
But they don't answer the question.
There are statements that my office has put out. And there are going to be people who are going to want, look, this is the tactic. The guy in the back of the room who's throwing the pie or yelling out the insult wants that to be the conversation.
But you are the one who said that you were hacked. And that's a criminal, a potential...
Dana, I'm going to have to ask that we follow some rules here. And one of them is going to be U.S. questions. I do the answers. That seem reasonable?
I'd love to get an answer.
That would be reasonable, right? You do the questions. That would be reasonable. You do the questions. I do the answers, and this jackass interrupts me. How about that as the new rule of the game?
Congressman?
Let me just give the answer. The objective of the person who is doing the mischief is to try to distract me from what I'm doing. So for the last couple of days that has happened, I've made a decision. I'm not going to let it happen today. I'm not going to let it happen tomorrow. You're free. You're doing your job. I understand it. Just go ahead and do it, but you're going to have to do it without me every day answer more questions about this. Today I want to talk about the debt limit vote. This debt limit vote tonight is a
Congressman,
very
why haven't you asked the police to investigate?
Let me just make a
why
point.
Did you not
let me make
ask
a point
the police to investigate
about the debt limit.
Is it because you don't want them to find out what the answer is?
Let me make a point about the debt limit. You know, we are tonight at 6:30, 6:45 going to be casting a vote on something that has monumental importance to our economy, whether or not we have a stunt vote on something of importance to the debt limit. I want to focus what I talk about on that. I want to focus what I'm working on that. I want to focus on that because, frankly, I think my constituents want me to, and I think that, frankly, the country would want me to. So that's what I'm going to do. You don't have to. You can continue doing whatever you want to do. But I am not going to allow this thing to dominate what I talk about.
Is it you in the picture?
Good. I'm glad you are.
Understand that in the statements that you put out, you have said that you were hacked. And so it's sort of a logical question that we really wish that you would answer. Why, if you think that you were the victim of a crime...
You've got to refer to my statements. You've got to refer to my statements.
The statement doesn't answer the question. If they did, we would be happy to.
I don't...
The statements don't answer
Look,
the question.
all I can tell you is I put out statements the last couple of days. responding to everyone saying this is the last question we're going to ask. And in fact, it's pretty clear that by your presence here, some people have been successful in making the conversation about something I simply choose not to participate in anymore. You can feel free to still cover it, and you can be here, and you can feel free. If you can feel free to stay here and ask me again. But you know, we have a situation where across the way is a Supreme Court that Justice Clarence Thomas, his household, received over $800,000 of remuneration from people that are trying to overturn the health care law, trying to stop it, and yet he's refusing to recuse himself. I think that's pretty important. I think that's a pretty important thing that I'm going to devote my energies to, and those are the things I'm going to talk about.
We have 24 hours to finish it all. We just want to get
Do you have any
the answer to this
evidence?
question.
Your statement did say that you did retain a lawyer, so what are you directing your attorney to do on your behalf? Ask for an investigation?
We aren't going to. I think the statement speaks to that. It says they are going to advise us on appropriate next
It
steps.
just says that you hired an
They're
attorney,
gonna-
but what is the attorney for?
No, that's not right. It doesn't say that. So I would refer you back to the statement and read it in its entirety.
Who is
Can
the
you
attorney?
just
I
tell us what it
appreciate.
says?
Are there any other questions?
Who is the
Why are
attorney
you
of
calling
Congressman?
somebody?
That doesn't sound like another question. Look, there are people who are going to want to try to distract from the work that I have to do. There are going to be people who are going to want to have this debate. And to some degree, the people that are engaging it are zealous to do it. Why? But I don't want to. I choose to fight for the things that I care about and the things that I'm working on. Look, can I tell you something? I know this is how the game is played. Some people decide they want to talk about this thing for days and days. I choose not to. That's my prerogative. I'm sorry.
Can I just throw this out there, though? If this is the non-story that you say this is in distraction,
I didn't
and you
characterize it as a distraction.
Okay. If you
I'll
think
leave it
this
to
is-
you to make the
If
decision
you
whether
think this
it's
is just a distraction, you're a sophisticated guy. Why not just answer the questions and then you'll be done
I've been
with
doing
it?
that for several days. Now I choose. I've been. There are people who apparently haven't read the statements. I assume that you have. Look, all I can tell you is this:
They're such
this
basic
is akin to someone deciding on day 3 or day 4 they want to continue talking about something that I consider a distraction, and me making a decision on how I'm going to deal with this. And the decision that I've made is I'm not going to permit it to distract me. I'm not going to permit it to continue on for 3, 4, 5, or 6 more days. If that's unsatisfactory to you, I apologize. But I think that what people really want to talk about are things like the debt limit vote tonight, are things like the oppressive disparity between the very well-to-do in this country and people that don't have as much, or the fact that it's more and more difficult being in the middle class in this country. That's what I'm here to work on. Thank you, guys.